Oh, look at us,
Pretty
black
good,
and white.
yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Are you going to play a little guitar for us?
You want me to?
A little rock and roll? You could get started with a little rock. Well, we haven't introduced you yet, but a little rock and roll is pretty cool. Hi, Carol. Our guest speaker, Jim Cathcart, actually plays rock and roll guitar, and we're going to start off with a little.
How to do? I'm a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll. Remember that from Donnie and Marie years ago?
Do.
Here's a better one. Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of lonely street. That's Heartbreak Hotel. Be lonely, baby. You'll be so lonely. You'll be so lonely. You could die. It's fun.
It is wonderful. Yes, I think when you have musical abilities, you do better in life. Isn't that funny?
I could play for as long as my fingers last and someone's paying attention. I could play indefinitely.
Okay,
I
keep
have
going.
sung-
What's the
I
next
sang
song?
for 3 hours one day to a group of ducks at the lake.
And I bet they were a very good audience.
They
I
were
bet you didn't
awesome.
play the
Yeah.
unquackling or quack, quack, quack.
Yep. Sound familiar?
Yes, sir.
Yep. I could do this all afternoon, but I won't.
Why
How,
not?
technically, how's it look?
Fantastic.
Okay. How's the sound? I'll
Could
be
be a little
closer.
more punched up, don't you think?
I will be closer when I put the guitar back. There you go. Yeah, I'll be about like this, and I can move that a little closer to me.
What is your favorite song of all time that you play and sing?
Whew. Of all time, I don't know. I know about 500 songs, so that would be a little hard. Here's one I like a lot. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. Woo-hoo. Thank you. And then we can go more contemporary. I've heard that there's a secret chord David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, major left, baffled king, composing. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And how about one for the, oh, actually, today is really my dad's birthday. He died in
Is it?
2020, but I've been thinking about him all day. So we could do a happy birthday. His name was Martin Manion, and he was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. I like the Beatles rendition. They say it's your birthday.
I gotta find the key. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Martin Manion. Happy birthday.
Ah, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have suggested that one.
Ah, did I
Yes.
send you a digital copy of this?
Yes, you did.
Good.
I'm waiting for my hard copy. I usually like my hard copy by the time I get to the speaker, but it has not yet arrived. So I have to check. If not, I will order. How do I get it signed though? I want a hard one signed. So if I order Amazon, then I mail it to you and then you'll sign it and mail it back to me. Is that how we're gonna do it?
You don't have to do it that way. Signed to Cynthia. There you go. I'll do it.
Woohoo!
Just give me a street address. Just send it in an email and I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Jim, nice to meet you.
This is Eric.
Hey, Eric.
Eric
Nice to meet you.
Tech Genius 101 to 1000, and he's putting our show together. And he does a lot of amazing things. And he works on a great foundation to help women that are single to get educated and move them forward with Eileen Norris. It's a beautiful thing. And do you want to say anything else about yourself, darling?
Well, I just wanted to come on because it's 7 o'clock and that means it's time to start the Cynthia Manion Show. We have an amazing guest speaker here that you will introduce Cynthia, but I'll take the time first to introduce you. And so for everybody tuning in to Facebook live and all around, people who are watching the replay or listening on Spotify, we're about to witness an amazing conversation. You got to see a little bit of it with that amazing guitar playing. And I wonder if there's going to be more of that. Maybe it's a music conversation. That would be cool. But it's definitely going to leave us very enlightened and very inspired. I know that just from experience of listening to these conversations before. And so for all of the community members that are here live on Zoom with us and who are watching in Cynthia's group, Songs of the Sea, welcome. Welcome to this conversation. And I have the privilege of introducing an extraordinary host who really bridges the gap between the realms of the extraordinary and what is relatable to all of us as we go through our lives. She's really the dynamic force behind the Cynthia Manion Show, this podcast, and the community Songs of the Sea. She's the author of Black Pearl, an amazing book. And I could go on and on forever, but I'll leave it at that. And I'll welcome to the stage, Cynthia Manion. Hello.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So we have an amazing guest today. We are so blessed. I actually feel like he got beamed down from heaven. My dad was like, you better have a good one on my birthday. Jim just did me the honor of singing happy birthday to my dad, who passed away in March 2020. And he's at Arlington National Cemetery with my mom and my stepmom. So it's a lovely place to visit, and I will be visiting him this week because I always visit everyone on their birthdays, but we're celebrating this way today. And Jim, what did you do for 4th of July, by the way, before I go into this whole
We had a pretty calm
man
4th of July. Yeah, I got up and did a workout yesterday, and my wife and I did the traditional hot dogs and baked beans and beer and so forth for food. But we live in Austin, Texas, in our country club. We live in a country club community, one of the built around a golf course. And though I'm not a golfer, which saves me zillions of dollars in membership fees, we were able to join the club as social members. And on July 1st, they held a huge fireworks display, and we could sit in our backyard and watch the whole thing.
The American dream.
The American dream. There you go.
And Jim actually is the American dream. He is amazing, and he can help everyone get to the next level so they can achieve their American dream, or help you along the path so you can get to the next level. I mean, this guy is amazing. I just watched his TED Talk again. I mean, you can find him anywhere. I mean, absolutely anywhere. He's got how many books? Correct me, over 25, 26, 27?
25 books. The 25th one is What to Do When You're the Speaker.
Okay, this is the book that we're going to come back to and really primarily speak to, because I have it electronically, but I really like a book that I can write in. I have my highlighters. I like to put notes. I like to bend down the pages. I don't know about you
Look at
guys.
the edge of mine.
Yeah, see? That's perfect.
my own copy. Yeah.
That's perfect. And then you can, mark up the good stuff. I always keep my markers beside me. I don't know how
There you
you
go.
all do it in the audience, but it becomes your own. If you're going to use it as your Bible to make yourself better, make sure that you own it. We have so many people that only use electronics and stuff now, and I understand it, but there's nothing like feeling it, touching it, and owning
Look
it.
over my shoulders. I've
Yes.
given away hundreds and hundreds of books to leadership libraries at universities and community organizations over the years. And still, I've got these. I've got a book shelf in the hallway that's filled to overflowing. And I've got archives up in the rafters. I mean, there's so many books, and I love books because it's
wonderful.
transformed my life.
It is wonderful. And that's one of the purposes of starting the group, was to make sure that everyone in the world is literate. Do you know there's still like 70 million people that aren't literate? How are they going to ever exist in this age? And, I'm a mermaid, so making sure they can swim. Like, you kind of can't learn to swim by reading a book, but you can sure read a lot of stories to get you inspired.
Literate is if you're able to read, and numerate is if you're able to do math. So is it swimmerate? If you're a mermaid.
Whoa, come on with it. That's
go.
awesome. So you should catch Jim's TED Talk. It's really very good. Very, very good. Let's see.
8.5 minutes long.
Yes, it's easy to digest. I actually watched it 4 or 5 times over since I met Jim. Viva J, who did a wonderful meeting with you, and they both played. He plays the piano, so it was quite adorable. The piano and the guitar, such talent. There's such talent in this community. I'm so blessed to be part of it, and especially you having what, 3,300, over 3,300 professional speaking engagements.
Yep, I've been paid to speak 3,500 times all over the world.
And it's really cool. I've only been around the world, I think, once and 1.5. He's been around the world 3 times
on lecture tours. The nice thing, Cynthia,
yes,
is somebody else paid for it.
Yeah. Well,
all of those 3,500 trips I've taken, that's been paid engagements. So I can say literally, I've been in all 50 states, paid for, in all the provinces of Canada except the Yukon so far, but I've been to Alaska 3 or 4 times, and most of Mexico and South America and Central America, and been to Australia 10 times, been to 23 major cities in China over a 5-year period, and I mean, I've seen some serious real estate.
Wow, that is impressive. That is really impressive.
I've been blessed. Yeah. You
are totally blessed. I assume that every single spot's your favorite, though. There's probably a diamond you picked up in each one.
It's interesting when someone says, what of all the cities you've visited, what stands out? And the first one that pops into my mind is Wrocław, Poland.
Poland.
It used to be called Breslau when the Germans occupied it. Wrocław, Wrocław, Poland is one of the most charming, beautiful, ancient cities I've ever been in. And it's got, a moat running all through the city, and old, beautiful buildings, and a big grand plots, and people out there selling their wares, and musicians playing for tips. And it's just so charming.
Wow, I wouldn't have expected that, but one of my grandmothers was Polish Hungarian, and she made papisy roll. It was an Easter thing, and it was like a week-long process, and oh my gosh, I missed that papisy roll.
Well, I tell you, wandering around this town square in a place like that, the smells are wonderful, and the foods are just magic. Because there's so many, there are like 20, 30, 50 vendors, depending on what part of town you're in. And on a weekend, they're all out there going full blast, and people wandering through and sampling the pastries and the meats and the sausages and all the other creative things that they do. It's delightful. I was there to speak for a huge multi-level organization, perfumes and cosmetics and things like that, based in Europe. They had 5,000 people in the audience, and I spoke for about an hour. It was wonderful.
And what did you say to them?
Well, I was talking about how to increase your level of professionalism and how to reach the top 1% of the field you've chosen. And that's a known formula. You know, it's not just a crapshoot or a wish. As a matter of fact, I wrote a book called Mentor Minutes, and I explain how do you identify a field of endeavor and then reach the top 1% or even above the top 1% in that field. I've done it in multiple fields, and I can show other people how to do it.
I think that's another book we're going to have to pick up, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like something we should be reading right now.
And that one came out in March. So
Wow.
2023 is a big book year for me. Mentor Minutes.
Ah,
How to reach the top 1% of your chosen field and how to become a certified professional expert.
I want it. That is fantastic.
Well, when you get there, you get one of these.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
And where's there? How do you get there? Where's the path? How do you get there? I know it's the road less traveled, but what's the first?
I do a mentor program where I lead people through a process that I call Going Pro. And it's taking a look at the field you're in, isolating all the critical parts of it, and then mastering each one of those and developing the skill set that allows you to be a leader and a results producer, regardless of what the field is. So like for me or for you, with a wide range of skills in leadership, communication, self-development, and so forth, and business, of course, you can go into any field in a short period of time, be among the shakers and movers. And in a not much longer period of time, be one of the leaders, be on a board of directors or chairing a committee or serving on a key committee or something like that. See, I came into the field of personal development in 1972 after hearing Earl Nightingale on the radio. I was inspired by what he said, but I was a government clerk making $500 a month and didn't have any skills or education to speak of. And I said, I like what he's doing. I want to do that. Well, that was 1972. In 1977, 5 years later, I was a full-time professional speaker and trainer, flying around the country doing seminars. At first, I was teaching other people's seminars. Then I started doing my own research. Then I bought an interest in a psychological research firm, and I started writing books. And, before long, before long, I was president of the National Speakers Association and had started, winning awards and getting inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame and things like that. And now then I'm 46 years later, that boggles my mind. I've been the president of NSA. I've received the Golden Gavel Award from Toastmasters and not a member.
You're not a member?
No. So that's an award they've given to Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Jeannie Robertson, people like that. And I got it in the year 2001. I've been inducted in the Sales and Marketing Hall of Fame in London for the work I did around my book, Relationship Selling. And it's been a heck of a ride, and I'm still riding.
You sure are. It seems to me like you're even going faster. What kind of motorcycle do you have? Do you have Harleys?
I have a Triumph. A Triumph Bonneville 1200cc. It's my 18th motorcycle, and I'm a life member of the American Motorcyclist Association.
Of course
Got
you
over
are.
150,000 miles under me.
Woohoo. Does your wife go with you when you ride, or do you ride solo?
She used to. She didn't ride very often. She rides occasionally now, but she's been on the back for easily 20, 30, 40,000 miles. We've toured the Alps on a BMW 2 times, 6,000 miles. The American Rockies, New England, all of California. We've been all over the place. She was on the back seat of the World Superbike Champions race bike on what is now called Infineon Raceway in Napa Valley at Sears Point at speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour, hanging onto him like a backpack.
Wow. I have to interview her next. That's amazing. That's truly amazing. Amazing,
Yep.
amazing, amazing. So Poland is on our bucket list now. I don't think any of us had Poland on their bucket list unless they
Definitely
were from.
put it on your bucket list. There's
What's
some
your
gorgeous
second,
places.
your
to go.
second top one?
Well, the second would have to be the French Riviera.
Ah, okay.
And
Lovely.
then the third,
Why is it special to you?
well, that, yeah, I could go on for half an hour because I've spent some serious time there. And I'm in love with the place. I've got a painting right over here on the wall. See that painting?
I do.
That's a painting of Villefranche. And Villefranche is on the coast between Monaco and Nice. And we were there. I was there for a speaking engagement, and Paula was with me. And we went to a dinner at the place in this painting, and then went back home to San Diego, where I lived at the time. I live in Austin, Texas now. But we were living in La Jolla, San Diego. And I went for a jog the next day after we got home. And there was an art show with all the little white tents, the outdoor art show in downtown La Jolla. And I jogged by a booth that had that painting in it. And I said, whoa. I said, where is that? And the guy said, it's Villefranche. I said, that's what I thought. I said, I ate dinner right there day before yesterday. He said, then you should have this painting. I said, no.
Really? You said
And,
no?
I mean, it was not
Pricey.
cheap. And he said, no, seriously. He said, why don't you take it home and see how it would look? Nah, let me bring it for you. Well,
What a salesperson.
yeah. And
Had
his
he
name
taken
was
your course already?
Ron McKee. He was the one who painted it. So we went to my home a few blocks away, and he held it up over the couch and he said, it's got too much green in it. Let me take it back home and emphasize more blue. And I said, I don't know. My wife said, I love it too. I said, okay, we're in. We'll buy it. So he went back home and he did like a 90% overpaint, brought it back, framed, hung it in our home. Been there ever since. And then we moved to a new location and we said, hey, we won't be seeing you anymore. He said, where were you moving? I said, we're moving to Thousand Oaks. He said, I live in Westlake Village, which is next door. I said, well, we're moving to Sherwood Country Club. He said, it's 5 minutes from my house. Call me when you get to town. So we got to town and he came over and he and I drove around Lake Sherwood and took photographs. And he painted a 6 foot wide, 3 foot tall panoramic painting of Lake Sherwood for us that hangs over our mantle even here in Texas today. So what started as just simple jogging through La Jolla ended up as a long-term relationship with the artist. And a lot of my friends have had him do paintings for them.
That is
Isn't
an
that cool?
amazing story. And what an excellent salesperson. That is the way to do it. And it's fun. Make friends, make relationships.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of selling. Selling is problem solving for pay. And my problem was I didn't own that painting. In other words, there was something that could make my life happier and prettier, and I didn't own it. And so that was the gap to fill, the problem to solve. And when I got to the new community, I said, we're moving into a beautiful new place. And I was going to put your painting over fireplace, but it's too small for that spot. And he said, let me come look. And then we went around, took the photos, and the rest of it unfolded like that.
That's perfect. That's perfect
Yep.
because he saw
Pardon
the
my
solution.
squeaky voice. It's a
No
little
problem. He
dry.
saw the solution and put more blue in it to make it work for you. So then it was yours, right? You were now
Exactly.
invested in it.
And he wrote a note to my wife and me on the back of the painting. So that's
Oh, I love
additional.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. That is so special. Phil, you got such good stories. You have to do a book on those kind of things. And
Boy, I tell you,
so-
I literally have more stories than I could tell during the time that I'm alive. It's amazing to me how many stories. I mean, like July 1st, we were celebrating by watching the fireworks here. Well, what did you do earlier that night, Jim, before dark? We went to Seguin, Texas, little tiny country town, been here forever, and went to the American Legion Hall, number 245, old place that's been there for ages. And a friend of ours was celebrating his 80th birthday. And Paula and I played the guitar and sang and entertained the crowd for his birthday. And then we got home in time to see the fireworks.
See, that's what makes a life well lived. That's really good stuff. That's really good stuff. Okay, let's give us the story for your top number 3. What's number 3 in your locations of favorite places in
La Jolla,
the world?
California. La Jolla, California.
La Jolla, California.
If I had, say, $100,000 in mad money that I could spend any way I wanted, and I had a month with nothing to do, I would simply go to La Jolla. I love that town. I lived there for the better part of 20 years. And Paula and I lived at one point for several years right in the village of La Jolla overlooking the ocean. You would love it, of course, if you hadn't already been there, because there's so much ocean around and everything is just stunningly beautiful and the best climate in all of North America, literally, technically the best. And every day is just a delight to get up to. And every night we would walk from our place across the street from the ocean, along the ocean, and watch the sunset into the sea, and then go have dinner in the village and then walk back home. Oh, romantic overload.
What are you doing in Austin, Texas then?
Well, we decided during COVID, we decided that all the restrictions that they had placed on life in California were a bit more than we were willing to tolerate, because they were even telling us, not only can you not leave your home, you're supposed to wear a mask at dinner with your family. And we said, enough. Where are they still free? And so we moved to Texas. Of course, we're both Southern kids. Paula's from Oklahoma. I'm from Arkansas. And being in Texas felt like coming home because I speak Texan. When I arrived, I didn't have to have translators. Hey, how are y'all doing? How you mama and them? Everything all right? All right, good. I heard that. You
That's
working
fine,
hard? Hardly
Yes,
working.
Yes, sir. And you do a little 2-step. I bet you have all your cowboy boots to match that fancy shirt.
Hey, and I've got my cowboy hats. See them right there on the wall? That
I've got mine
dark thing up
too.
there on the wall. I got 2 cowboy hats over there. I got guitars hanging over here, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
So fun. So fun. Well, you've got these 2 books going on. What are other current projects or initiatives do you have going on
Well,
for 2023?
The main thing I did when COVID changed the world for us, I realized first off that my business as a professional keynote speaker just disappeared.
Yeah.
Meetings not being held, speakers not being hired. And we hadn't gone to Zoom yet, so it wasn't going virtual. It was still the early stages of shutdown. And I said, well, what can I do that's valuable to other people? And I realized that I can help people succeed. I've been doing it all my career, 46 years. So I said, all right, how do I do that when I can't get to them? Then let's learn to do it online. And I developed the Going Pro Experts Academy which is an ongoing course that I take people through in small groups, direct one-to-one with me and maybe 8 to 12 people at a time. And we go through a Zoom call every week for about 3 months. And then I bring them here to Austin, Texas for a 2.5-day weekend and go in depth in a mastermind setting. And then those that want more, we extend it for the rest of the year as a full Experts Academy, and in that with a summit in Southern California. And at the end of that, I present them the certified professional expert. So that's pretty cool. And then this book, the What to Do When You're the Speaker, it just came out June 1st. And man, the endorsements I've gotten. Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, Tom Ziegler, Tom Hopkins, Patricia Fripp. Golly, just goes on and on and on. You know, just the biggest names in the business of personal development. And let me see, I've got it right here on my bookmark. Let me see who I missed. Michael Reagan, Ronald Reagan's son, Dr. Ivan Meisner of BNI, Dr. Nito Kubain, the president of High Point University, David Averin, Don Hudson, Howard Partridge, Jason Dorsey, Scott McCain, Steve Spangler, Al Walker, Jan Payne, Michael Butler, Kate Hancock, Matthew Pollard, John Mitchell, Eric Swanson, Terry Brock, Dave Reed, Mark Hunter, Nikki McQuistion, Shep Hyken, Tim Garden, Tony Alessandra, to name a few. Whew.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's a
just the
who's
ones that
list.
said you ought to buy it.
That is amazing. And another thing, I actually read all those little things that they wrote up for you. That was very impressive.
Wow.
Them
Thank
were
you.
really, really well. I was like, wow.
Yeah, they were
Wow.
very generous.
Wow. That is one of the most impressive lineups I've actually read as endorsements on a book. So,
Thank you.
And this
Well, the beauty
particular,
of this book, what makes it different is it's not about how to give a speech. It's what to do when you're the speaker. What do you do when the guy before you runs 30 minutes overtime and eats up all your time on the agenda? What do you do when the building catches on fire and there's 700 people in the room and you're 3 levels below street level in Washington, D.C. on a cold Sunday in November and you're the only one with a microphone? What do you do when you're ill and you think you're going to die, but you know you've got a 2-hour gig tonight for 5,000 people in Denver? What do you do when your introducer introduces the wrong person and then you come on stage? All of these things. What do you do when someone in your audience has a medical emergency in the middle of your speech? Or when some big drunken lumberjack comes into the room and starts yelling profanities and challenges you to a fight in front of 300 people in Kalamazoo, Michigan? What, you know, I mean, it's a book filled with amazing stories and tips and techniques for how to handle anything life throws at you and still retain your confidence and your poise and your professionalism.
and it's laid out so it's easy to read. You can just pick a chapter. He has all the chapters so well
That's true.
written out. You know, like how to be natural on stage. It's almost like
this.
taking a class, boom, 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 and you could pick it out. Like if I had the book in front of me, I would have probably gone to right over here at the end, how to lead a webinar and speak online. What to do when laryngitis
attacks. All of those, they're all
I mean,
in
it's
here.
amazing. It's
And
amazing.
each one is less than 2 pages long.
So you get it, you mark it, you color it up with your highlighters, start executing it, and then tell us what exactly is the Cathcart method. I saw that written several times. Is that the
I've had a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people have told me over the years that my style was distinctive, that I was unlike most other speakers in a good way. And I said, well, what do you think that is? And I kept asking people time after time over the years. And it's interesting, the most common comment I got was the following. And they would say it almost like it had been scripted and handed to them. It was that similar. What they say is, you know what I appreciated most is your sincerity.
Mm.
And I asked them, what made you think I was sincere? and then they would describe my behavior. And so I started noticing more, I became more self-aware, noticing more of how I approached presenting, and others did it differently, but were still also sincere. And the main thing for me is I want to, for the rest of my life, avoid ever, 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 ever having an experience I had in my 20s, where I was standing up there acting like I knew something I didn't, and they caught me. Oh my God, it was humiliating. I was mortified. And I said, never again as long as I live. So when I'm telling an audience something, if I say I know it, I flat know it. If I say I think or I've heard, then that's the truth too. And I even send, in advance of a speech, I send what's in the book as the speaker's professional pledge. And this is something I developed ages ago based on what my clients were telling me. And it's, here's what I'll do when I speak for you, and here's what I won't do because you don't want me to do it. Like share private information with other people, or be rude to an audience member, or use profanity. Those are things I won't do. But what it says in here, and the only thing in here that's in bold type is right there. It says, I will tell you the truth 100% of the time. If I say it, it's true.
And if the whole world lived like that, wouldn't it be a better place?
We wouldn't have lawyers.
Right.
Gosh, now imagine this. What if, taking your idea, the whole world starting tonight told the truth going forward, forevermore?
Yeah. What
would change? Well, first off, we would always know what's so and what's not so. We would always know whether we could trust someone or not. Yeah, but sometimes it's not nice to tell the truth. No, sometimes it's not nice to tell everything you know or feel, but it's always nice to tell the truth. Always. Someone says, well, do I look fat in this dress? Yeah. But wouldn't you want to know that rather than just be puffed up by somebody?
Usually if you ask the question, you know the answer.
But for heaven's sakes, learn to be tactful and appropriate, right?
Absolutely.
So if we could get people just to tell the truth more often, man, we would change the world. So the Cathcart method is be honest, be either on time or ahead of time, be appropriate. How should I dress, Jim? Appropriate. What does that mean? It means if they're dressy, be dressy. If they're not, don't be. If it's a formal occasion, treat it that way. Behave accordingly. Be appropriate, for heaven's sakes. At a 4th of July outdoor picnic, do not wear an evening gown or a 3-piece suit. Just don't. But and they say, well, what? I should wear a t-shirt and shorts? Not necessarily. Because it might be that just makes them think you're another one of the crowd. Why not, if you're the speaker, dress just one step nicer than the crowd happens to be dressed? Like if they're wearing t-shirts, wear a polo shirt. If they're wearing jeans, wear some slacks. Mm-hmm. But don't go coat and tie.
It's amazing how many people don't seem to do that or know these things.
Yeah.
And I think we have to circle back to moms and dads, right? Because these are like basic things that you should teach them. In fact, I was just talking to my son.
And it's not popular to teach that anymore, And
you gotta know. You gotta know.
We need to make it popular.
Okay,
and make
how are we gonna do that?
professionalism a goal. There you go. So we've enlisted each other in the campaign.
Absolutely.
Eric, are you on board with us? Eric, okay, we got a thumbs up from Eric. So Eric's on board too. Now then, we've just increased our numbers by 50%.
In fact, we can probably do that more with all our people online. Yes, and actually the people I look at obviously don't have that problem because they're here getting educated and getting smarter and brighter than they already are.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And think about what it means to be more professional. You know, profession means you profess, you express, state publicly for criticism that this is where you stand. You profess to believe in a certain set of standards and ethics. So a professional, we used to define a professional by the business she was in. So if you were a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an educator, you were a professional. Well, today we define a professional by the way you're in business. And there are 5 qualifiers. Technically, there are 5. You're well educated for what you do. Your education will never end. It's lifelong. And it's, it's renewable from time to time. It's done for pay. It's done as a service to other people. And it's done according to a set of ethical standards. That's what a professional is. You can be a professional, anything, professional gardener, a professional trash collector, a professional musician, a professional anything, if you approach it as a pro. That's why I call my program the Going Pro Experts Academy, because I only want to deal with the people that want to be an enhancement to life on earth.
What is the most exciting person that you brought forward through your program, GoPro? Like,
man, the earliest and the just the coolest overall is Tim Seward. Tim Seward was 19 years old when he was in my audience ages ago in Chicago, and he was working as a auto detailing guy, washing cars and doing detail work. And he owned a franchise from a company called Tidy Car. Tidy Car was big at the time. They had franchisees all over the world, and they had brought me in to do a training program for their new franchisees on how to build a business, a solo practice. And so I was teaching these car wash people how to be more professional about what they were doing and how to keep themselves motivated and make more sales. And at the end of my speech, and I was in my 30s at the time, Tim came up to me and he said, "Mr. Cathcart," which I thought was quite a compliment because I was only 30 and I didn't feel like a mister yet. He said, "Mr. Cathcart, could I sit with you at lunch?" Okay, 19-year-old kid. And he was very pleasant. And so we sat during lunch. He asked 1,000 questions. And at the end, he said, "Do you have a quote?" I said, "Huh?" He said, a slogan, a motto, a quote, something I can use to motivate myself. I said, "No." He said, "Really?" I said, "No, got something better. Got a question." And the question, Tim, is this. Every day, ask yourself, how would the person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to do? He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, tell me about the person you'd like to be." He said, "I'd like to be the international sales leader for Tidy Car." I said, "Well, that's a big ambition." He said, I said, "How will you be different when you're the international sales leader?" He said, "Well, I'll probably be better organized and I'll probably dress a little more professionally instead of a t-shirt and jeans. I'll treat my customers better and keep better records and I'll learn a lot more." And I said, "Okay, write that down and go home and be that way. Ask yourself every day, how would the international sales leader, Tim, in other words, not somebody else, but a future you, how would the better you do today's work? And everything you do every day will be upgraded just a little bit." So he went back home, dedicated to becoming international sales leader at 19 years old. And he's going up against established businesses all over the world, many of whom had their own shops and had multiple employees, but he's in it to win it. So he goes home and he gets a coverall that says Tim on the pocket and Tidy Car logo on the back. And he starts looking more professional. And he gets some business cards printed up and he organizes his workspace better. And he goes out and treats his customers better and does a better job on the car than he'd ever done before. And he starts getting so many referrals, he has to hire other people. And then he had enough money coming in. he leased an empty service station and had a permanent location, and his business grew. And when he went to New Orleans for the international convention a year later, he won International Sales Leader, and they gave him a brand new Chevrolet Corvette. I was there. And at that moment, the people had him on their shoulders and they're marching him around the room, spotlights and music, and it was huge. And I said, Tim, what in the world did you do? He said, I just did what you said in Chicago. I said, what did I say? Because, man, if it's that good, I want to write it down too. And he told me what I just told you. And he went on to become a multimillionaire. He sold his tidy car business, built another, sold that. Last time I talked to him, he moved from Michigan to Florida for several years and then to North Carolina. And he's a Google licensee and still just as successful as can be and inspiring thousands of other people.
We're going to have to look him up. And don't you want to be 19 again and
Tim
learn that? My
Seward,
goodness.
Seward.
Seward.
Yep.
I bet there is. Has he written a book too?
I'm not sure. I know he's written enough articles and done enough, published material that if he doesn't have a book, he certainly easily could have one. But that's the thing. I've had the chance to work, like you said, with 3,500 different audiences all over the world. So I've had proteges on every continent. I've had them in almost every business you can name, from auto detailing to the Association of Wiping Cloth Manufacturers, to the Ritz-Carlton hotel chain, to the American Air Force, to the U.S. Treasury Department, General Motors, on and on and on, American Airlines. I've worked with every kind of company you can imagine, financial services, military, music companies that make guitars, landscaping companies, microphone companies, water distribution, groceries, restaurants.
So really the premise is always the same. You just tweak it for the individual industry and the person. Because the message is the message.
Universal principles of success. Yeah. I mean, I did a tour in the 1970s with Dennis Waitley, author of Psychology of Winning. He and I did a day for the winners. I did the morning, he did the afternoon, and went around the country. I sold Earl Nightingale's motivational recordings on cassette tapes back in the 70s. And 10 years later, he called me out of the blue, and I didn't know him. He called my number when I was living in California, and he said, hey, we would like to publish your new audio program. And he published mine on audio cassettes and sold $3.5 million worth in 2 years. So in 72, I heard him on the radio. I got inspired. In 74, I went to work doing training programs, selling his recordings. 10 years later, in 1984, he was selling mine all over the world. Holy smokes. When Earl passed away in 1989, I was president of the National Speakers Association, and I had invited him to join me on stage in front of 2,000 of our peers at the Dallas convention and talk about the speaking profession as he knew it. And he said, I might do that, but it's a non-paid engagement, so I can't guarantee it yet. And I said, that's okay. And then in May, I got a call, and it wasn't Earl, it was his wife, Diana. She said, Jim, Earl passed away. She said, we've already had a funeral of sorts here. We had a ceremony. We spread his ashes here at home. And she said, we're not going to have a formal funeral, but I'd love to have a memorial service at your speakers convention where he was going to speak. I said, oh, it'd be such an honor. And so she came and she said, I want you to speak. I said, no, I'm not worthy. No, seriously. I mean, this is Earl Nightingale. This is one of the giants of the success motivation world. And she said, yeah, I want you to speak. I said, no, Diana, it should be heads of state and corporate leaders and, you know, significant people. She said, Jim, there's a point you're missing. Earl was about personal development. You took his recordings and changed your life and became the national president of the primary organization in the field that he was training people in. You went from a government clerk with no college degree and no money in the bank to one of the top 10 people in the world in the field of professional speaking, following Earl's advice. Tell others what you did. And I said, yes, ma'am. And the speakers at his memorial service in that July in 1989 were his widow, Diana, a short recording from Dennis Waitley on video, and me.
Ooh.
Whoa. One of the greatest privileges of my entire adult life. Wow. See, and this is not about me. This is about what's possible. So everyone listening to us today is capable of creating a situation just like that in whatever field they're pursuing. It may not unfold in ways similar to mine, but the principles are there. And if you're dedicated to becoming the kind of person that would attract the results you want, then you become a magnet, not just an arrow shooting at it, but a magnet drawing it to you. And the world you want will be seeking you.
Woo. Amazing. Amazing.
And a blessing, a gift.
So grateful.
Thank you. Me
So
too.
grateful. Ah.
Ah,
So
yeah.
where do you get all this energy? Where do you get all this energy? Do you have a
Yeah.
superpower? What's your
Well,
superpower?
that's because of my youth. You know, I'm 76, so it's just, you know, if I were old, I probably wouldn't have this energy.
Okay, so you get up in the morning and you go, who are you trying to be now?
Yeah, just more of me, the better version of me. And I'm constantly reading and learning and listening to programs like this. And I'm always putting myself into positions that stretch me a little bit, you know, that pull me beyond my own limits. Because, you know, when you set a goal, if it's not bigger than you know how to achieve, it's not a goal, it's just a to-do. If you already know how to do it, put it on your to-do list and do it. But if it's a goal, it's going to inspire you to grow. I sign every email and every letter in the spirit of growth.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I've done that since 1975.
In the
Long
spirit of
time.
growth.
And what is the spirit of growth? It's the mindset and heart set and soul set that attracts to you the goodness in the world by putting out nothing but goodness toward the world.
Mhm. I firmly believe in this. That's how I've lived my life. That's how I made it this far. Woohoo!
No, and you've done quite well, I might add. Bravo.
I'm having fun, but I'm ready
That's
to
a
move
symptom.
next level.
You know, people say, well, I just want to be happy. Well, happy is an effect, not a goal. You know, set your goal to do something that counts, something that matters, something you care deeply about. Set your goal to be of value. Happiness will come along for the ride. Don't make happiness the goal, because happiness as a goal is like sugar as a meal. It's going to be fun for a few minutes, and then you're going to feel awful.
Not at all.
So seek protein, seek nutrients, and the happiness will come along.
So what do you eat for breakfast, Mr. Jim?
I eat nutrients. Typically total cereal, which is very, very high in vitamins. And I don't add anything to it except fresh fruit and milk, you know, but that's my typical breakfast. And I love eggs. I used to go out every morning for breakfast years ago when I had a staff and they were in the office. I would go to breakfast alone at McDonald's and get an egg a 300 calorie egg McMuffin and coffee. and I'd sit there and think about my goals for the day.
And he still looks good, guys.
Still got a 30-inch waist, thank heavens.
Woohoo!
By the way, when I first heard Earl Nightingale on the radio, I
Yeah.
had a 38-inch waist and I was 200 pounds, 50 pounds overweight for my frame.
How tall are you?
5'9".
Good job. And I know that you run and you ride your motorcycles, your Triumph.
Yep.
What else do you do for exercise?
Well, I work out
Oh,
in the
you
gym,
walk and
but when we lived in Thousand Oaks, California, we lived right at the base of the Santa Monica Mountains at Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks, Agora Hills, Newbury Park. And 3 days a week, every Sunday, every Wednesday, and every Friday at sunrise, I would meet anywhere from 12 to 18 of my friends for a 2-hour mountain hike. And we would go 3 days a week on a forced march, going for a personal best on your time watch, trail run and hike up the mountains to the tallest peak nearby, 3 miles one way. And then we'd have to work our way back. And then we'd go to coffee and tell lies.
oh no, you always tell the truth.
We would tell stories, but it was just great fun, great friendships. And there were 60 people in our group and they'd rotate and who showed up. I was there almost every time. I logged over 15,000 miles in my years there, my 18 years in that location. And that's a lot of miles. And I hiked and ran in the rain, in the cold, in the heat, when it was still dark, during all kinds of conditions.
And that's how you build your stamina so that you can take care of the heckler in the back of the room.
Exactly.
That is excellent.
By the way I took care of that.
Yeah.
Now picture the room. This was the JC's, Junior Chamber of Commerce, Kalamazoo, Michigan State Convention, and 300 people in the audience. It had been a dinner, and I was on stage giving a speech. And here comes this great big guy, like 6'4", and he's wearing a Mackinac, and he's got a big beard, looks like he's straight out of Central Casting. And he stumbles into the room, slobbering drunk, and he starts yelling profanities, and then he challenges the people to a fight. Well, I'm the only one with a microphone, and I'm 100 feet away from him. And I decided to take charge of the situation because I'm the only guy who could anyway. So I said, "Sir," and he's looking around. And I said, "Sir, are you talking to me?" He said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Up here." And he looked at me. He said, "Yeah, I could kick your," and he goes on and tells me that he can take me down and wants to. And I said, "You know what? I think you're right. I think you can." I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I need 8 of you large gentlemen near him to please stand up. Please, seriously, stand up." Okay, 1, 3. Okay, we need 3 more. 3. All right, 2 more. Great, thank you. Now, would you 8 men please help this guy find the exit? And they all converged on him, and he turned around, and he left. And the hotel called the police, and a female cop nearby came and put him on his knees, handcuffed him, and hauled him away.
That is precious. And
So
what
that's what
audience
you do.
you had.
That's what you do when you're the speaker and things don't go the way you expected.
Wow, that's very good. That's very good. What did you do when you were in Washington, D.C. underground?
Oh, I was there for a conference of the NATP, National Association of Tax Practitioners or Tax Professionals, accountants. And we were at like a Hyatt or I think it was a Hyatt. It was on a Sunday in the winter on a week, obviously weekend. And that part of town was deserted and it was cold outside. So we're down 3 levels. And all of a sudden in the middle of my speech, the slide projector, this was in the days that they had those carousels projectors. It's out in the middle of the room and I'm up on stage and I advance a slide and the slide projector literally exploded and smoke came out of it.
Great.
And then all of the fire lights on the walls started going beep, 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 and the fire alarm went off. And I knew it wasn't because of the projector. It was from something else, and the projector was one of the symptoms too. And so I looked around and I said, after the audience laughed, I said, no, it's not a prop. That was not part of the act. I said, now there's 700 of us in here. I said, we've got a center aisle. I want the 350 of you on this side of the room. When I say stand up, I want you to slowly go out the back of this side of the room. Don't go in these side doors because they just lead you to a fire walkway that'll lead you back to that door anyway. So slowly go out and go up the stairs. Don't take the elevator because in a fire, they shut them off. So go up the stairs. I'll meet you at the street. And this 350, I want you to follow me through this door. It goes to a stairwell, an inner stairwell, all concrete. And we'll go up to the street level because it comes out on the street, and I'll meet you up there. So you ready? Okay, everybody stand. This group this way. Sir, lead them. Yeah. And just go up that. Yeah. And this group that way. Go. Thank you. And they started going, and I joined this group, and we went up to the street. And we got outside, and the building really was on fire. What had happened was there was an explosion in the kitchen, electrical explosion, hence the slide projector blowing up, a surge, and it caused a fire in the kitchen that was still burning. So we couldn't get back in the building, and it's getting dark and it's cold, and we're not dressed for the cold. So we can't even go back in and get our jackets, and we can't go back in and stand in the lobby, and the other buildings are shut because it's a weekend and nothing's open. And so I thought, well, okay, we got nothing to do and we're cold. Where do I find heat? Body heat. Everybody come here with me. We're going across the street, and there's steps going up to a building across the street. I said, everyone come here. And they all came, and I was up on the steps. I said, now I'm going to walk down where you are. I want you to come up here where I am and get close together so we keep each other warm for a while, and I'll finish my seminar from down there. And they said, okay. So they came up on the steps, and I walked down to the bottom, and I shortened my seminar, but I finished my presentation. And then a while later, like 4 hours later, they let us back in the hotel. The meeting planner said, you're my hero. Oh my God. Oh, if you ever want a recommendation, just, no, you don't have to want it. Tell me who to call. I will tell the world you're the greatest speaker we've ever had. And it wasn't based on my content or my maturity or my anything. It was based only on how I handled an emergency. How did I know to handle it? Because I made a habit, talk about professionalism, of always going to the meeting room in advance and checking the exits, not to see if they open, because sometimes they don't, but to see if they open, where do they go? Is it an inner hallway and you go in this side and you have to go back there and around here and around there and out there anyway? Well, then cut it short and go out that way. Is it something where you're led into a maze of inner passageways and it's not clear how to get to sunlight? You know, I need to know because I'm the only guy with a mic. And a lot of people say, well, no, that's not my job. I'm the guest speaker. I just say, hey, Cynthia, take it. You know, it's your meeting. No, don't put Cynthia in that position. Be a pro. Do what you have to do. Save human lives.
That's amazing. That is amazing. The whole time I was thinking preparation, he must have done some huge preparation to know which exits to take. And then you told it. That is amazing.
But I had no idea about putting them on the steps. I mean, that came to me on the spot.
Staying warm. Yeah, I'm familiar with that part. But
Yeah.
going around and checking the way first, that is a big golden nugget for me. Thank you.
Good.
I mean, you're full of golden nuggets, but that one I'm always like just happy to get there, right?
That's a keeper.
And
Yeah.
I know where the ladies' room is and the men's room is,
There you go.
where the food is and the water is. I think that was amazing. So think of the preparation, ladies and gentlemen. Think of the preparation. Like the Boy Scouts say, think. What's
Be
that motto?
prepared. That's right. Be prepared.
Be
And
prepared.
it didn't take me but 15 minutes to do that preparation. I went down to the meeting room, wandered around, tested the doors, looked at, where they went. And I saw that stairwell and I said, where does this go? It goes to the street. Is it locked? Well, on the outside, it's locked. So I went up to the street and pushed it. And sure enough, it was unlocked on the inside. So I closed it again. I went back, went about my business. The next day I gave my speech.
Brilliant. And that's another thing about arriving the day ahead of time to be ready. And then you don't have airplane nervousness.
And when I get to town, the first thing I do as soon as we hit the ground is I contact the person in charge of the meeting and I say, Cynthia, our plane just landed. I'm in town. So you can relax about your speaker getting there. I'll let you know when I get to the hotel.
And I'll go, sir, there's a car waiting for you with a big banner. You can't miss it. Welcome, Jim.
And I've also come in, I flew into somewhere in Connecticut, Hartford or someplace one night, and I got in after dark and all of the services had shut down and there weren't any taxi services available.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to meet a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no driver there and there were no cell phones. It was back in the payphone days.
Yeah.
I called my client, but I only had their office phone. So how do I, because the office has been closed 2 or 3 hours. And now then the airport's pretty much shutting down. And I had to catch one of the last taxis out of the place and just stop occasionally until I figured out who I could call to figure out, where exactly is this meeting and who am I supposed to see when I arrive? Whew. So now that my checklist before I leave home is longer.
And do you have this checklist in your program? Is it in your book? Where do we get it?
It's not in the book. That's in the training I do when I'm coaching people as a speaker, because I do speech coaching as a separate thing, as well as incorporating it into that. But yeah, part of that is to have a pretty exhaustive checklist that covers you for occasions like that you hadn't thought through yet. Like, I don't want to know what your phone number is. I want to know what your mobile number is. And I want to know, you say, well, don't worry about where you're going to be. We'll pick you up and take you there. If they change drivers and he loses the note, I want to be the guy that can tell him it's the Armonk IBM headquarters, and you got to come around to this side of it because that's where the lodging is. The other side is all offices, and they won't open that gate at night. Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah.
There's a trick to everything, and being prepared is the answer. Do we have any questions, Eric, by the way? And you are brilliant. This was great.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you very
that's
much.
Just the tip of the iceberg. Wouldn't you like to just keep going? Any questions from the audience, Eric?
We're going to have to stop before morning, though, because I'm sure I'll have to eat.
Just one question
we'll
from
the
audience.
Eric says, where's the beef? I love that. Oh, yeah.
That was good.
And the other question from Eric is, any instructional video footage on bike riding from Jim, or I guess motorcycle riding?
Actually, there's a couple of hours of from the saddle video that I've taken and posted online of Mulholland Highway in California and some other places.
Oh, you can sell it to Peloton. They could use it for their
There
rides.
you go. Great idea.
Yeah.
Well,
Call
we'll
them
go
up.
find that and include that in the thank you email to everybody, that footage.
That'll be fun. Do you have it? Can you send us a clip?
Yeah, I can, yeah, let me get it. Motorcycle clip. Okay, got it.
What fun. What fun. What fun.
And by the way, let me give you something else. Put
Yes,
down
please.
three words as
Like
one
that.
word, no spaces in between.
Okay.
Guitar,
Mm-hmm.
music, live. guitarmusiclive.com.
And that's you.
That's it.
Woohoo! Can
That's
you
my
stick that
music
in our
website.
thank you note too, Eric, so that everyone can catch it?
Yes, I
And
will.
he's actually done some really, really professional, great rock and roll.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rock and roll
Yeah,
from the 80s.
I've got my album, my music album is on there for download. It's got a whole armload of videos of me in various places around the world. It's got song list of 300 or 400 songs and photographs from everywhere. It's a fun website.
Do we have any ocean or sea songs or?
No, if only I'd thought about that. That's a clever idea. I could have come better prepared.
Not a problem. You can pick it up for our next meeting.
There you go.
Awesome. Any questions out there in the audience? Okay, I just want to know if you still want to come back for August.
That's a good idea. Hey,
I think you should. We'll do that. There's so much about you. We haven't even.
keep that alive and drop me a note and we'll solidify that and make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
For me too.
Let's do it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love your energy. I love your spirit.
If you get this book, What to Do When You're the Speaker, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere online they sell books. It's usually not stocked in the stores, but it's certainly available online. And you can even download it for like $2.99 an ebook, Kindle. So get a copy, but please leave comments on Amazon.
Okay.
Because that's the thing that tends to drive its ranking. And if people will leave some comments on there, even if the comment is meaningless, it adds to the algorithm. So thanks for that.
We have a smart group, and also Mentor Minutes.
Yeah,
You
Mentor
intrigued me
Minutes.
with Mentor Minutes. Hold that up we have some new people that visit it.
Mentor Minutes is 336 1-minute ideas of how to motivate yourself and others, how to reach the top 1% of your field. Pick a number, Cynthia, between 1 and 336.
33.
Oh, that's the best one.
Of course it is.
Best one. 30.
Yeah. It was my son's number in baseball. Okay, and it's things that last and things that don't.
Yep. And it's how do I know it's a 1-minute message? Because first I recorded them, then I transcribed them. So it takes exactly 1 minute to read. And this is about when I taught my son the difference between tangible and intangible when it came to spending money.
Ooh, excellent.
There you
We
go.
got 1 minute right. Why don't you read it?
No, I lost my place. Let me flip
Okay,
to
number 33.
I'm going to go to another one that's even shorter than that. And it's number 33, because I've got 33 quick tips in the front of the book.
Mhm.
And this one takes less than a minute.
Okay.
Number 33, shut up and listen. Observe, notice, and remember that it's not all about you. You need others and they need you. Sometimes in our zeal to succeed, we just talk all the time, thinking our speaking will motivate others to help us. Not true. Everyone is driven by his or her own motives. And if you don't understand what they care about, then they won't be interested in what you care about. When you're talking, you only know what you know now. When you're listening, you acquire knowledge from others.
Amen.
There you go. Thank you, my friend. It was great.
Jim, you are awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Thank
Had
you.
a wonderful time. Thank you so much.
You
Thank you.
bet. Thanks to everyone who tuned in, and thank you, Eric, for keeping us on the track. See ya.
Looking forward to that August interview too. That's going to be fun to see.
Yeah. And by then we'll have read our books and had them marked up with our yellow questions. Tabs, and we're like, woohoo. And we'll be moving up on that grid, getting closer to the 1%. Thank you all. Be amazing, because you are amazing. I am amazing. We are amazing. Woohoo. Bye, y'all.
Bye.